Optima Developments wants to transform the existing Bay Bush Barn on Hillsborough Road into a $2.6 million complex consisting of a hotel, motel and bottle shop. But before it can, Council wants more information on the development's social impacts and what effect it will have on one of the city's main thoroughfares.
The additional traffic that would be generated by this business, we're concerned to ensure that there's an opportunity for people to get out onto the Hillsborough Road.
Council also wants to ensure the 50-room motel is built, saying it'll help overcome the city's lack of accommodation.
And this is showing up in things such as the Olympics, so obviously the 50 units would be a great boon for the area.
The developer describes Council's fears as fair and hopes the plans will be passed when Council meets again next Monday. Meanwhile, Council did give the go-ahead to a Burger King restaurant at the Glendale Supercentre and also put a stop to last week's call for Pasminco to cease work on a mound at the Bullaroo smelter after discovering it's being built according to plan. Colin Baldwin, NBN News.
The plan is all about generating power and money. Since Hunter Water increased the flow from Chichester Dam 2 years ago, the Williams River has flourished. Now it says it's time to harness some of the energy which is being created.
We then investigated a hydro generator unit, and it looked like it was going to be quite feasible, not only technically and economically, but you'd have the spin-offs with the environmental benefits.
2 hydroelectricity systems will be built by Delta Electricity, one at the base of Chichester Dam Wall and another 25 metres upstream from the Dungog Water Treatment Plant. The turbine-driven machines will generate 240 kilowatts a day, enough to power around 600 houses.
We've been able to sell the electricity out into the renewable energy market as Cedar Green Power and give a return back to Hunter Water, as well as making a return for ourselves.
Hunter Water will make around $15,000 a year from the deal, and the scheme should be up and running by August. Vanessa Spark, NBN News. The plan to redevelop the 1920s-style hotel has been brewing for the last 2 years following a council decision to revamp the civic site. $1.5 million later, and the landmark pub has been fully refurbished, offering 21 rooms with 4.5-star service.
And this is a lovely old hotel, and we just had to update with the times. We've got all the latest equipment, and we've still got the charm of the old hotel.
The complex also includes a restaurant, gaming room and bar area refurbished in the 1920s style. 400 people applied for jobs at the hotel, with only 30 being offered casual and permanent work.
We're very happy with the guys we've got, and we'll train them, and from this they'll benefit. They'll get 4-star training plus food, beverage and gaming as well.
Newcastle Council still owns the hotel and has issued a 20-year lease to the new operators. Vanessa Spark, NBN News.
Robbie O'Davis is back and loving it. 3 weeks watching his teammates from the sideline was 3 weeks too many.
Been doing a lot of that the last couple of years, so I'm pretty used to sitting on the sideline. Know more, but I'm in this side now to stay, and I'm on the field to stay, hopefully.
But the star fullback admits to being a bit green after his long spell from football and is quite content to play a minor role against Auckland. Adam McDougall, meanwhile, was suffering noticeably from his bad back at training today. The Knights will also take Lenny Beckett across the Tasman tomorrow, just in case the Origin rep isn't fit to play. It all poses a problem for Knights coach Warren Ryan, who'll have to decide whether to start O'Davis in McDougall's absence.
I don't want to be even worrying about that at the moment. I've got a contingency plan, but I don't want to dwell on what I don't want to have to do.
Meanwhile, Northern Eagles skipper Jeff Tuvey has taken to Central Coast Airwaves to get another big home crowd at North Power Stadium for Saturday's clash with St George Illawarra. Tuvey's pleased with his team's form so far.
Yeah, 2 out of 3. We'd like to keep our track record at home pretty good, so we're looking to win and to keep the fans up here happy.
While most of the cast are content with dress rehearsals and the 2-hour 20-minute performances of workout, some need a little more activity to keep them on the ball for showtime. Performance legend Thelma Houston spent the morning in the ring, a light workout before rehearsal, but she was into the real swing of things this afternoon. The cast of 32 got down to the nitty-gritty of practice in preparation for tomorrow night's grand opening in Newcastle. And although there's no local performers in the stage spectacular, it's a show designed to appeal to all.
I think because of the high energy, I think for one, I think the show was pretty popular when it was on, but I think also the high energy and the dancing.
Already the show has had rave reviews after 6 months in Sydney and 8 weeks in Melbourne, and it's only just getting started.
After Newcastle, then we go to Canberra, and then after Canberra we go to Brisbane, and then Perth, and then Adelaide.
Sadly, most of these women have had to make this trip to court as victims of crime. They all believe the law lets women down when they come forward to report acts of violence, even though they are encouraged to do just that.
The systems aren't there to back up the fact that violence has got to stop, and the courts are pretty awful to women who are brave enough to stand up and say, this happened to me. So that's got to change.
Protesting as part of a national day of action, the founder of the victim support group known as Vocal says $200 billion is spent dealing with crime in Australia each year.
$9 billion or thereabout is spent on welfare. Wouldn't it be interesting if you took a whole heap of money out of the crime budget and spent it on preventing crime?
Sandra Dunstan thinks the burden of proof needs to shift in favour of the victim so that cases can carry a not proved status rather than being dismissed.
The community need to understand that it's not actually that these people are innocent, it's just the way that our system works, that these people are found not guilty.
The story centres around Monsieur Orgon, who meets and is fooled by a manipulative character, Tartuffe, and invites him into his household. Family tensions rise when he wants to marry him off to his daughter. French playwright Molière delves into the beliefs of religious salvation, whether certain acts carried out in this world can influence what happens in the next. The Church of the time was not amused and petitioned King Louis XIV to stop all performances. He did, but changed his mind 5 years later. The satire, still relevant today, is a commentary on human behaviour, in particular that human nature doesn't alter, even though some attitudes do. Tartuffe opens at the Newcastle Repertory's De Vita Street Theatre on Wednesday night.
Life's a beach. After a tough night out in Auckland, the Knights found the sand a lot softer than Auckland. The Warriors left them walking wounded in the red and blue. Ben Kennedy heads a list of casualties with a shoulder injury, but we'll know more tomorrow. Peter Shields was missing today with a knee problem, while Matt Parsons has a neck injury. But many of the Knights came away a bit battered and bruised.
It was a timely reminder that the hard or the tough aspects of football are never far away.
And with the Broncos match coming up, Ryan will be sweating on injury reports during the week. One selection problem he's pleased to have is what to do with Tamana Tahu. The winger expected to fall back to the lower grades after Robbie O'Davis' strong return from injury.
Yeah, it's really good that we've got this terrific young fella that's going to come on and be a very good centre.
A tough critic, O'Davis was actually disappointed with his return but happy to have a game behind him. His confidence now restored after an injury-plagued pre-season.
I think I was carrying the injury a little bit out there, and a couple of times I had opportunity to go off my left foot, and because I had that plan in the back of my mind, I didn't really do that.
And Ryan can now mix McDougall with O'Davis for his plan at the back.
I'd like to develop a system where we can play two attacking fullbacks.
Meanwhile, Logan Swan has been charged with a careless high tackle after this effort knocked Darren Albert out, and he now risks a 1-week suspension. With Sydney Olympic winning overnight, the Breakers' brief stint as outright NSL leader is over for the time being, but the roll continues. The 2-0 win against Gippsland pushed Newcastle closer to securing a top 6 and semi-final spot.
The boys are very wary of it. We don't want to let it slip, and we've got a tough run in. We've got 11 games to go, and we just got to keep focused.
Andy Roberts himself is enjoying a new lease on his soccer life. Known more for his tough defending, he's enjoying life a little closer to the action, reaping the rewards with only his 3rd NSL goal on Friday, and it could have well have been more.
He's playing in a midfield role of late, and he's giving him the fruit and the go forward and support Bonavogler and Harper up front, and he just wants me to get in the box and get on the end of things, and that's what happened to me on Friday night.
The missed chances were the only downside to an otherwise solid win. Several shots went wide of the mark, and with goal difference expected to play a part in the race to the semi-finals, it's hoped these shots don't come back to haunt them.
If we're going to be semi-final teams, we've got to concentrate on things like that. One slip up in the semi-finals costs you dearly. Which Rex yellow card was stupid. At the end of the day, we just can't afford stuff like that.
As you'd expect, the protagonists from last year's grand final enjoy a healthy slice of selection. In fact, Premier's Western Suburbs has 4 players and Cessnock 5 in the squad, with Gowenna's fullback Shane Saunders joining winger Lance Leonard in the back line. Also there, new Gowenna's recruit Damien Engelbrett, who also made his mark in the trial and is in the team as well. But the real impact has been from North Nelson Bay, with 5 players selected, including 2 ex-Knights, Jason Karapu and Shane Lalota. Newcastle Player of the Year Zane Clark is in as well. Jared O'Doherty heads the list of West's players selected. The squad will play Illawarra in a trial match next month ahead of the country championship.
After months of discontent from business owners, the much-maligned Proclaimed Place on Hunter Street closed its doors permanently last night. In its place is the Newcastle Adult Accommodation Support Service, several hundred metres away in a small laneway off Hunter Street West. Mission Australia stresses the new facility won't be a dry-out area for the city's drunks. Each client will be referred to one of 4 undisclosed places out of the city.
The only thing that we're asking for is a little bit of time in terms of the transition period. People in the community and business people also will see that this program will work and it can work and it is doing a better job.
Business leaders who fear the problem has just been moved up the street say they'll still be keeping a close eye on the new facility.
We applaud the initiative for it to be moved, but we don't want it just to be moved from A to B and the same sorry state carry on. We want these people moved out of the city.
Meanwhile, the former Hunter Mission has changed its name. The charity organisation, which unveiled a new logo today, will now be known as Mission Australia Northern New South Wales to take advantage of Mission Australia's national profile.
Can utilise those resources and we can access them to provide better services on the ground, and we see this as a great advantage for us within this region.
Blake Doyle, NBN News.
Sydney law firm Coleman and Gregg has filed damages proceedings in the federal court, alleging that the company's smelters at Lake Macquarie and in South Australia have polluted the environment, causing health effects and lowering property values. The family that sparked the action has since moved away from the area, but self-confessed Bullaroo battlers say they'll support the class action.
Any of the residents that need the money, that'd be good for them, I reckon. Really be good, I hope.
So you'll be taking part?
Oh yes, I'll ring up when I come back home.
Because we're all strugglers around here, and an extra $1 or $2 would go a long way.
The law firm says anyone born at Bullaroo in the last 21 years, as well as adults who've lived within a 5-kilometre radius of the plant for the last 6 years, can become part of the mass claim at no cost. Lake Macquarie Mayor John Kilpatrick can see the smelter from his backyard, but doesn't agree with the action that could cost the company millions.
The plant's been there for over 100 years, and I'm surprised, I suppose, that suddenly we find there's litigation, that there's a class action.
For many residents, simply living near the plant is a daily struggle.
Oh, the car's just black. I've got a white car, but I say I've got a black and white car nowadays.
A lot of people trying to see it as a black and white, and it's not. There's 380 jobs there. People depend on the job. I think the company is genuinely trying to fix the problems that have been created over the years.
Pasminko says it'll defend the action that begins on the 6th of April. Coleman and Gregg lawyers have set up a toll-free telephone number for residents who feel they've been affected by pollution from the plant. The number is 1800 805 920. Paul Lobb, NBN News.
The waters off Crowdy Head set the scene for what police are calling a murder. In November 1999, 40-year-old Leith Smith set out to sea with his brother-in-law, Roy Davey. Smith was alone when he returned. Mr Davey's body was later recovered by professional fishermen, and police allege it was battered and bruised. In Newcastle today, the prosecution was unable to present the results of DNA tests to the court. The magistrate set a new court date for a committal hearing on the 28th of March and allowed bail until then. Williams was excited at the prospect of being released on bail on the basis that he reported daily to Belmont Police. However, no one who was able to vouch for him came forward, and he remains in jail tonight. David McElwain, NBN News.
Yesterday, around 20 staff from B&H Minepro in Singleton were asked to submit to a random drug test. David Ward was one of these employees.
There was a nurse there. She asked me to provide a urine sample. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to at that time, so I was asked to go into an adjoining room and drink some water until such time as I could provide a urine sample, which is pretty embarrassing no matter which way you look at it.
These staff members had attended a party on Saturday night, and David Ward says the company suspected drugs may have been used.
Safety in the workplace is everyone's priority, but that's just the way they go about it. Privacy's thrown out the window. I believe what people do in their own home in their own time is their own business.
CFMEU Construction Division Union Delegate Bob Cochran says while drug tests have been policy for some years, the company's action in this instance was draconian.
But just to take anyone that is behaving quite normally, put them in a room, force them to drink water under threat of being sent home without pay until they can provide a urine sample it's reminiscent of a third world dictatorship.
The union is now looking at taking the company to the Industrial Relations Commission and the Human Rights and Equal Opportunity Commission, as well as instigating strike action on the shop floor. In a statement released late this afternoon, P&H Minepro claimed their suspicions were confirmed and 2 employees tested positive to cannabis. In response to this, the union says while the cannabis may have shown up in their bloodstream, the employees were not under the influence of the drug. Tanya Carlisle, NBN News.
While it may have felt the temperature was around the half-century mark at times, all players at the State Masters Championships are over 50. However, most belied their age with some deft skills at the International Centre at Newcastle. As expected, Sydney was one of the best on day one. In this Division 2 match, an early goal put Newcastle on the back foot. The home side unable to hold out the visitors, who went on to post a 4-1 win. Competition continues over the weekend. And a big weekend on the waters of Lake Macquarie with the top 20 sprint skiff crews in the country racing at Belmont for $10,000 in prize money. Best local chance is Belmont's Gary Brunnages, who was an unlucky loser at the recent National Championships. He gets a chance for some revenge this weekend. And further south at Myuna Bay, it's water skiing at its best, with Auski 2000 incorporating a round of the World Cup, which ensures the top competitors. The Myuna Bay circuit provided near-perfect conditions last year, and with $30,000 up for grabs, competition is expected to be top quality once again. Qualifiers are tomorrow with the finals on Sunday.
In Newcastle, to award Tracy McDonald with the first John Holliday Prize for her studies of salt marsh vegetation, the Minister continued with his plan to raise millions from saltwater anglers through his preferred option of an annual $25 licence. An invitation to interested parties to make submissions on the plan will end on the 28th of March.
The most important thing is the resource and the sustainability of that resource, and whatever plan can be formulated in the best interest of resource, that's what we'll be using.
At a meeting of retailers and fishing clubs, it became clear that the major fear is that an upfront licence will keep beginners from sinking a line. Gordon Balcombe sells tackle and agrees the government needs to raise money from anglers to restock coastal waters, but he has reservations about how it's done.
Certainly don't want to see the numbers of people fishing reduce over the next few years as a result of a licence or someone placing a barrier to stop people taking up the sport. I think it's got to be a user pays. The people who use the fishery more should pay more.
As part of the plan, Lake Macquarie will be closed to commercial fishing, but the Minister says seafood prices won't rise as a result.
There should be no concern about seafood prices going up simply by closing up Botany Bay and Lake Macquarie. They produce about 2% of the value of our commercial catch.
Gidley's the biggest worry. Gidley's really looks as though he's in trouble with a groin injury, so he just can't walk.
It's a good confidence booster, of course, and with Australian only 2 weeks away, it's a good lead-in.
When the police rescue squad arrived at Warners Bay Spares today, they were confronted with a crashed, overturned car, a van head-on into a tree and a car crushed by a power pole, all staged as part of a training exercise. The exercise was designed to allow squad members to hone their skills for when they're challenged by real emergencies.
It can be difficult, but you really you switch off and just do your job. If you took too much into it, you wouldn't be able to do it.
The hydraulic ram, cutting claw and jaws of life are all part of the squad's kit. Soon they'll add bomb appraisal tools.
We're sending 2 operators down to become bomb appraisal technicians to be used in the Hunter Valley and really also as part of the Olympic preparation.
The Newcastle squad will remain in the Hunter during the Olympics to deal with any situations that may arise. Paul Lobb, NBN News.